Thursday night was the first time that the San Antonio Spurs and Toronto Raptors have faced each other since the massive trade between the two teams sent DeMar DeRozan to Texas and Kawhi Leonard and Danny Green to Canada. It was always going to be an emotional night at the IT. And yet, the real question is how Spurs fans would receive Leonard some months later. As you know by now, last season did not go well for Leonard in San Antonio. The nature of how things fell apart between Leonard and the organization has become clearer over time, but the gist of it is that it got pretty wonky between the best franchise in the NBA and the former Finals MVP. So, how did Spurs fans react when Green and Leonard were introduced? I bet you can guess. Via Twitter, yes, that's the it. We also expected the team to do a tribute video for the pair, but even there it seemed that Green was billed first. Check out the wording of the Spurs tweet. Via Twitter, at this point it's going to take some time for things to cool off between the two sides. But stranger things have happened, and perhaps Spurs fans will love Leonard once again. Hell, the Portland Trail Blazers retired Bill Walton's jersey in 1989 and things did not end on happy terms there, either. Leonard is an all-time Spurs great, but for now they probably have reason to boo. Memphis, Tennessee, AP, Grizzlies general manager Chris Wallace has apologized to Memphis fans for an apparent altercation following the team's latest loss. Wallace said Thursday that the Grizzlies had an emotionally charged meeting Wednesday night after a 101-94 loss to the Detroit Pistons. It was Memphis' 10th loss in 13 games. When losing happens, obviously emotions get frayed and we're very passionate and competitive people in this game, Wallace said. Unfortunately, we had an incident. The Athletic reported Garrett Temple and Omri Caspi were involved in an altercation. After practice Thursday, both Caspi and Temple spoke with Temple describing what happened as brothers getting into it. Some things were said and some things happened, Temple said. At the end of the day we're brothers. We've known each other since we were rookies. At the end of the day, we came out of that meeting on the same page and we're moving on from it. Memphis now is 10th in the West after a 12-5 start that had the Grizzlies atop the Western Conference in November. Obviously, whatever happens between our locker room should stay in the locker room, Caspi said. I think all of us as a group obviously frustrated with the situation, Grizzlies coach J.B. Bickerstaff took more than 30 minutes to meet with reporters after the latest loss over what he called a conversation that needed to be had. Veterans Marc Gasol and Mike Conley were the only players in the locker room when it opened. Wall said he was concerned at how quickly news of the incident spread and discipline will be handled internally. More AP NBA, https://appnews.com/NBA and https://twitter.com/app-sports. The Charlotte Hornets are a near .500 team fighting to make the playoffs this season, a franchise that wants to keep all-star point guard Kemba Walker next summer when Walker is a free agent. To do that, it would help to improve the roster around Walker. Except the Hornets are capped out. This season they are paying $24 million to Nicolas Batum, who has 1 year plus a player option he will pick up on his contract. After that, $17 million to Bismack Biyombo and $13 million to Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, both of whom have player options for next season they are all but certain to pick up. What the Hornets are desperate to do is move Batum, and they might be willing to throw offensive-minded center Frank Kaminsky in as a sweetener, reports Sean Devaney of The Sporting News. Now, league sources tell Sporting News, the Hornets may finally be ready to include Kaminsky in the trade ahead of his coming restricted free agency. Given the way things have gone for him in Charlotte this year, he would likely welcome a change of scenery. Teams have expressed interest, including some contenders, but the Hornets would most prefer to put the money remaining on Kaminsky's $3.6 million deal with another big salary. Charlotte, according to league sources, is desperate to get out of the 2 years and $52 million remaining on Nicolas Batum's salary, and at least one team was told that Kaminsky could be had if Batum were included. The Hornets would also like to move the $17 million owed in 2019-20 to center Bismack Biyombo. That seems a tough sell on a couple fronts. There are certainly teams that could have interest in Kaminsky, but he is not such a value that teams will take on the $52 million after this season that Batum is owed. Even though Batum can be a rotation player to add some value, he's averaging 8.8 points per game this season. Batum was paid to be Walker's number 2 and never lived up to those expectations. If teams are interested in Kaminsky, they might just wait and try to poach him as a restricted free agent in July rather than even taking on the $17 million owed Biyombo next season. If a team is found for a trade, would owner Michael Jordan approve it? Remember, MJ pushed his front office to draft Kaminsky at No. 9 in the 2015 NBA Draft, ahead of Justice Winslow, Miles Turner, Devin Booker, Kelly Oubre, and Terry Rozier. Just to add to the pain of Hornets fans, sorry, Jordan turned down a package of picks, including 15 and 16 in the same draft, from Boston to make that selection. Kaminsky could become a stretch 4/5 rotation player. He can knock down shots from outside, career 34.6% from 3, and while his defense isn't good, it is not necessarily as bad as his reputation. That's a valuable player to have, but not so valuable teams will take on dead money to have him. The Hornets are in a tough spot. Walker has said repeatedly he wants to stay in Charlotte, but he will have options come July. We finally figured out which Brooks the Memphis Grizzlies wanted to trade. According to multiple reports, Memphis has decided to swap Marshawn Brooks, Wayne Selden, and 2 second-round picks to the Chicago Bulls in exchange for wing Justin Holiday. This comes a couple weeks after there was some confusion between the Grizzlies and Phoenix Suns about which of their players named Brooks would be included in a potential deal for Trevor Ariza. The disagreement came when the two teams disagreed on whether they were including either Marshawn Brooks or Dillon Brooks, and it caused the trade to fall apart. Now, the Grizzlies will get some depth at wing moving forward. Via Twitter, Memphis is trading Marshawn Brooks and Wayne Selden and 2 second-round picks to Chicago for Justin Holiday, league sources tell ESPN. Adrian Wojnarowski, at Wojespin, January 4, 2019 Bulls will need to waive a player, but still working through that decision. Adrian Wojnarowski, at Wojespin, January 4, 2019 Memphis can still move Justin Holiday before the February 7 deadline if they fall in the standings. The team will not be allowed to aggregate his salary with another player. However, early bird rights are attractive for a team that has limited roster flexibility this summer. Bobby Marks, at Bobby Marks, 42, January 4, 2019 Holiday is shooting 36% from three-point range this season. He's a useful defensive player as well, and will add another veteran presence to a Grizzlies squad that is now angling for a playoff spot thanks to a hot start to the season. Chicago gets a couple of second-round picks out of the deal, as well as 2 expiring deals in Brooks and Selden. They need to clear space for incoming players, and the word is they'll be waiving Cameron Payne. To that end, Payne seemed pleased, tweeting out this raised hands emoji, which he later deleted. According to Shams Charania, the Bulls won't have Brooks report to the team, making the real haul the pick package. Sources: the Bulls and Marshawn Brooks' agent, Wallace Prather, plan to work on resolution for new destination for Brooks. Chicago doesn't plan to have Brooks report to team, or waive him immediately, after Memphis trade. Shams Charania, at Shams Charania, January 4, 2019 This isn't the sexiest deal, but now that we're in January and heading toward the Feb. 7 trade deadline we should start to see some movement. Despite stinking most of this season, the Wizards showed how much they valued winning in the present by trading for Trevor Ariza. But fate has had other ideas for Washington. Since the Ariza deal, John Wall underwent season-ending surgery. Now, Markieff Morris will miss an extended period of time. Wizards release, via NBC Sports Washington, after consultation between Drive. Docent Wizards Director of Medical Services and Orthopedist Drive. Wemi Duaga, Morris has been diagnosed with transient cervical neuropraxia. He will be limited to non-contact basketball activities for the next 6 weeks, after which he is expected to be cleared to return to full basketball activities. The Wizards are 3 games and 3 teams out of playoff position. They're still in the race, but reaching the postseason won't be easy. Bradley Beal can't simply put this team on his back. With Morris out, expect Washington to lean more heavily on Jeff Green, Otto Porter, once he gets fully healthy, Thomas Bryant and maybe even Sam Dekker and Ian Mahinmi in the front court. Morris has played plenty at both power forward and center for this team. Morris hasn't played very well this year, but since getting pulled from the starting lineup, he has provided a useful scoring punch off the bench. This injury projects to sideline him through the trade deadline. That'll make it more difficult to move his $8.6 million expiring contract. So, it'll be tough to tank. It might be tough to win, though. The Wizards just remain mostly stuck.